Hi, I'm Maria Gonzalez, scrolling through yet another fake review on my restaurant's page. The 100th one this week, all suspiciously similar. All coincidentally, flooding in right after my sister-in-law, Rebecca, opened her restaurant 3 blocks away. Too bad my mother-in-law doesn't realize that Wi-Fi logs don't lie. Chef Maria, you need to see this. Carlos, my head waiter, called from the dining room. It was Tuesday morning, prep time before the lunch rush at Casa Maria, the Mexican restaurant I'd built from the ground up over 5 years of sweat and sacrifice. Wiping my hands on my apron, I stepped out to see Carlos holding his phone, his face tight with concern. "Another 1-star review," he said, handing it over. "Horrible food poisoning. Don't risk your health eating here. The new place down the street, Luna's Kitchen, is so much better and cleaner." My stomach twisted. Luna's Kitchen. Rebecca's new restaurant, backed by none other than my mother-in-law, Victoria. The timing wasn't just suspicious, it was calculated. "That's the 10th review claiming food poisoning this morning," Carlos added grimly. "We've already had cancellations." I grabbed my phone and scrolled through the flood of reviews. Each one followed the same pattern. Outrageous claims, glowing praise for Luna's Kitchen, and identical typos. A sloppy smear campaign. "Maria, darling," Victoria's voice chimed through the empty dining room. She swept in wearing her usual designer suit and pearls, her air of superiority as suffocating as her perfume. "I just heard about these awful reviews. Such a shame. Perhaps it's a sign. Running a restaurant is so exhausting. Maybe it's time to consider other ventures." I forced a smile. "Victoria, what a surprise. Shouldn't you be at Luna's? I heard you've been very hands-on with Rebecca's opening." "Oh, it's going splendidly. Full bookings for the next month." She examined her nails, feigning innocence. "Rebecca always did have a knack for the restaurant business. Not everyone does." My phone buzzed with yet another notification. I glanced at it, then back at Victoria, who had suddenly checked her own phone at the exact same moment. "Excuse me," I said, stepping into my office and closing the door. My mind raced as I opened my laptop. 5 years of blood, sweat, and tears, of honoring my father's legacy, now at risk because of petty sabotage. I started documenting the reviews, noting a key pattern. Many were posted during Luna's peak hours, times when Rebecca should have been far too busy. Something didn't add up. A knock interrupted my thoughts. "Come in," I said, expecting Carlos. Instead, my husband, Michael, stepped in, his expression troubled. "Maria, we need to talk," he said, his tone uneasy. "About the restaurant." I stiffened. "Let me guess. Your mother's been talking to you." "The reviews are bad, Maria. Maybe we should consider selling before things get worse. Rebecca mentioned she'd be interested in expanding Luna's." I stared at him, incredulous. "You want me to sell my restaurant to Rebecca, the same Rebecca who's never worked in a kitchen before last week?" "She has natural talent," he muttered. Mom says." "Mom says." I snapped. "When are you going to stop letting her run your life?" His face hardened. "I'm trying to help you. These reviews are fake." I turned my laptop toward him, pointing at the timestamps. "Look, all posted during Luna's peak hours, and none of these sick customers even dined here on the dates they claimed." I checked the security footage. Michael frowned, leaning in. Then whoa. The door burst open and Victoria waltzed in, not bothering to knock. "Oh, are we discussing Rebecca's offer? A wise choice. Better to exit gracefully than watch everything crumble." I stared at her, then calmly pulled up the restaurant's Wi-Fi logs. "Actually, I was just showing Michael something interesting." I gestured to the screen. "It seems these sick customers left their reviews while connected to Casa Maria's Wi-Fi. During your visits, Victoria." Her confidence wavered. "I'm sure there's an explanation." "There is." I nodded toward the door. "Carlos." Carlos entered, holding up his phone. On it was a still from our security footage. Victoria, sitting alone in the dining room yesterday morning, typing furiously on her phone. Victoria's face twisted with rage. "How dare you accuse me? Michael, are you going to let her speak to me this way?" But Michael's attention was fixed on the screen, his expression darkening. "Mom, what did you do?" That evening, after Victoria stormed out and Michael retreated to think things over, I stayed late at Casa Maria, combing through security footage. What I found made my blood boil. Victoria hadn't just been posting fake reviews. She'd also been sneaking Rebecca into the restaurant after hours. Together, they'd photographed our kitchen, recipes, and supplier invoices. "Look at this," I said to Carlos, who had stayed to help. I pointed to the footage of Rebecca at the prep station, snapping photos of my father's secret salsa recipe. Last Tuesday, 2 a.m. No wonder Luna's menu feels so familiar. My phone buzzed with another review. "Found a roach in my enchiladas. Health department should shut this place down." Luna's kitchen is so much cleaner and authentic. "They're getting desperate," Carlos muttered. But something doesn't add up. These reviews mention health code violations, but we just passed inspection last week. A thought struck me, and I pulled up the health department's website, checking the name of our inspector. James Morton. I read aloud, then froze. "Wait, Victoria's cousin?" Carlos' eyes widened. "The one who came to last year's Christmas party?" I grabbed my phone and called the health department. After a brief conversation, my suspicions were confirmed. Our inspection last week had been fake. Michael walked in just as I was hanging up. "Maria, we need tow." "Not now," I snapped, showing him the evidence. "Your mother didn't just write fake reviews. She used her cousin to stage a fake health inspection." Michael slumped into a chair, his face pale. "I knew she didn't like our marriage, but this is criminal." "It gets worse," I said, pulling up security footage of the staged inspection. "Look who's with him." The video showed Inspector Morton entering through the back door, with Rebecca. "They used the fake inspection to document our kitchen setup," I explained. "Every violation they're posting about matches changes Rebecca made at Luna's. They're not just stealing our recipes, they're trying to frame us for copying them." Michael's phone started buzzing. Victoria's name lit up the screen. He hesitated, then declined the call. Carlos, meanwhile, pointed to Luna's social media. "Chef, look at this. They're offering half off to anyone who shows a screenshot of their negative Casa Maria review." "That's it," Michael said, standing abruptly. "I'm done being manipulated." "Maria, what's our next move?" "First, we gather everything," I said, smiling for the first time in days. "Then we go straight to the real health department and the police." The next morning, Victoria struck first. Real health inspectors arrived at Casa Maria, claiming to investigate multiple complaints. As they combed through our kitchen, I noticed something odd. Our spice rack labels had been swapped. Someone had replaced our FDA-approved spices with unmarked containers. I pulled up the security footage again, and there she was, Victoria, using her spare key to tamper with our kitchen. She'd even thrown away the original containers, which Carlos had already retrieved from the dumpster. "The labels are from Luna's kitchen," Carlos said grimly. "She must have grabbed the wrong ones in her rush." I immediately called Michael, who was meeting with Victoria and Rebecca about Luna's expansion plans. "Put me on speaker," I said when he answered. "Maria, now's not the time," he began. "Oh, I think it is," I cut him off. "Victoria, I have a question. Why do the spices you planted in my kitchen have Luna's address on them?" Silence. Then Rebecca's voice. "What's she talking about?" "Check your phone," I said, sending them screenshots. Victoria swapping the spices, Rebecca photographing our recipes, the fake inspector's visit, and Wi-Fi logs linking the fake reviews to Victoria's visits. "Here's the deal," I continued. "You'll delete the fake reviews and post a public apology. Luna's will acknowledge it stole from Casa Maria, and both of you will resign from the Restaurant Association board and endorse me as your replacement." "That's absurd," Rebecca shrieked. "We've worked so hard." "To steal my father's legacy," I interrupted. "Your choice. Comply or I take this to the media and the police." Another long silence. Then Victoria's voice, tight with anger. "Fine. But this stays private. As long as you hold up your end. And Victoria, I'll need your spare key back." By the end of the day, Casa Maria passed inspection, and Victoria's public apology went viral. Customers flooded back, many sharing messages of support. Michael hugged me tightly. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I should have stood up to them sooner." "What matters is you're standing up now," I replied. "But we're going to have a serious talk about boundaries with your mother." Carlos walked over with a grin. "Chef, you'll want to see this. Luna's just announced it's closing for renovations." I shook my head. "They'll be back, but next time they'll have to build their success the hard way. Meanwhile, we'll keep proving why Casa Maria earned its reputation." 3 months after Victoria and Rebecca's scheme unraveled, Casa Maria wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. The story of a mother-in-law's sabotage attempt had gone viral, turning my little restaurant into a symbol of resilience. The newfound attention brought waves of customers, but also its fair share of challenges. Another reporter called, Carlos said, handing me the reservation list. They're begging for an exclusive on the restaurant wars of Preston Heights. I rolled my eyes, focusing on the simmering enchilada sauce. Tell them the same thing we tell everyone. No comment. We're about food, not drama. The door chime interrupted us. We're not open yet, Carlos called out. Even for your sister. I turned to see Carmen, still in her sharp lawyer's suit, standing in the doorway. She'd been my rock through the legal fallout of Victoria's schemes. She set a thick envelope on the counter. The settlements finalized. Victoria and Rebecca signed everything. They're legally bound to stay 50 miles away from Casa Maria and can't open another Mexican restaurant for 5 years. I wiped my hands, opening the envelope to confirm, but what caught my eye was a handwritten letter tucked inside. The familiar slant of Michael's handwriting stopped me cold. Maria? What my mother and sister did is unforgivable. I've let loyalty blind me for too long. I'm selling my shares in Luna's kitchen and putting everything into Casa Maria. If you'll have me as a real partner this time. No more divided loyalties. Love. Michael. Carmen smiled. He brought that in himself. Said it was important you saw it. Before I could respond, Carlos rushed in, phone in hand. Chef, you need to see this. The headline on his screen made my breath catch. Preston family empire crumbles amid tax fraud scandal. The article detailed how Victoria's failed sabotage attempt had triggered a deeper investigation into their businesses, uncovering years of tax evasion, labor violations, and health code fraud. Karma, Carmen said with a satisfied grin. But you'll never guess who tipped off the investigators. Rebecca, I guessed. She nodded. Turns out, being her mother's pawn didn't sit well. She handed over years' worth of documents, recordings, and emails. The bell chimed again, and Michael walked in, holding a leather-bound book I hadn't seen in months. I found this in my mother's study, he said softly, setting it on the counter. It was my father's original recipe book, the one Victoria had stolen during the fake inspection. As I opened it, running my fingers over the familiar handwriting, Michael added, Rebecca's leaving town. She wanted me to give you this. He handed me another envelope, this one containing a short note. Maria, I was wrong. Stealing from you didn't make me feel successful. It made me feel small. I'm moving to Seattle to start over, the right way this time. Thank you for showing me what real success looks like. Rebecca. That afternoon, as the lunch rush rolled in, the restaurant buzzed with the energy I'd always loved. Happy chatter, clinking plates, the hum of a busy kitchen. Chef, Carlos called. Table 12 wants to thank you personally. I stepped out and froze. Sitting at the table was Inspector Morton, Victoria's cousin, the man who had conducted the fake inspection. I came to apologize, he said, standing awkwardly. Victoria had dirt on me, but that's no excuse. I've resigned from the health department. I studied him for a moment. We're hiring a compliance manager, someone who knows the regulations inside and out. Interested? His jaw dropped. After what I did, everyone deserves a second chance, I said, if they're willing to earn it. That evening, as Michael helped me hang a new frame, a collage of my father's first glowing review and the viral story of Casa Maria's comeback, he smiled. You know, my mother always said you'd never be a real Preston. I laughed, thinking of Victoria's crumbling empire. Best compliment she ever gave me. The next morning, Carlos greeted me with more good news. Food Network wants to feature us on a show about family-owned restaurants. I grinned. Tell them yes, on one condition. No drama. Just food. As I tied on my apron, I thought of everything we'd overcome. Victoria had tried to destroy what I built, but instead, she'd strengthened it. My father always said success was the best revenge, but now I knew better. The best revenge wasn't just success. It was building something meaningful with the people who truly deserved to share it. Ready for another day, chef? Carlos asked. I smiled as the first customers took their seats. Always. Let's show them what real family cooking tastes like.